Hio de Gallo, let's go on an adventure with Alex Toth. Now, this is my first Toth comic. I was just a little bit nervous because you hear so much built up about a guy and so much amazing stuff, and sometimes there's these amazing bands. I'll compare it to music. Sometimes there's these amazing bands out there. They have such a wide catalog of stuff when really they've only made 3 or 4 good albums, and maybe there was a 3 or 4 album run that was pretty good, and then everything else they did was all right, and then some is not so good. So you get in this thing where you have this amazing artist or musician, and you're like, well, what do I get that's good? And so I kind of took a stab in the dark at the Hot Wheels deal. Now, I grew up around old cars. I grew up around with a million Hot Wheels, and I couldn't resist. And I found a deal on this comic. It's kind of beat up, which that doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not too much of a collector like that. I just want the thing. And so I took a chance on this, and it absolutely blew me away. And it's really cool on top of everything else is that there's a handful of different artists in here. So maybe it's a little bit more of the idea that it's an anthology, but everybody in here does a great job. What this is also is to support, along with the toys, a cartoon, which this is, I mean, if this isn't Toth, I don't know what is, which I'm pretty sure that Toth was drawing the cartoon. So all really, really good stuff, and this absolutely knocks it out of the park, 1000%, and also a time capsule. If I hadn't said that already, a time capsule into maybe an easier time, especially a guy who's a car guy and likes working on cars, when you were able to work on cars, and that's kind of what makes me happy. The whole comic makes me happy, but the fact that it's centered around cars is absolutely wonderful. So with that all said, let's go ahead and dig in. Now, the thing that really made me happy about this, and I can't not do it whenever I read it, is I'll start this, and basically what this story is about. It's about bank robbers who have a souped up hot rod, and they use that to rob banks. So part of the story is there's funny cars in here. So what a funny car is now, back then, basically it's something with a composite body that looks like a real car but is not a real car. So the idea is that they have these fake bodies on these cars, and they just swap out the top so they could get away, so they could drive around their hot rod, and nobody knows, like, oh, where's, because it's a 57 Chevy or 55 Chevy, but it's not a real 55 Chevy because they take the top off it when they get away. So there's bank robbery. But the fun thing is every time I read this, I'll read it and I'll make the sounds. And it makes me feel like I'm 5 or 6 years old and playing with my Hot Wheels on the carpet. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. And the thing in here, there's so many good things about how he tells his stories, but one of them is how he draws cars. And if you want to be a cartoonist and you want to draw comics and you want to do all that stuff, you're going to have to draw cars. So probably get some Toth comics. I mean, don't get Toth comics till I get all my Toth comics. But you kind of get the point. And one of the secrets is always get some of those wheels off the ground to create speed. But also there's angles, tilted up. He could have wheels off the ground, but the fact that he has the car tilted a little bit helps as well. I really like this panel right here. Really good stuff. You see almost from the other side of the door, one guy's leaning over the steering wheel, the other guy is getting in the car. Not an angle that you see a lot. And with the thing I noticed in this comic, he does a lot of that figure work that are angles that you don't see all the time, which is kind of good, because if you're wanting, I didn't go to art school, I didn't do life art or anything like that, so I'm always looking for different body angles and all that stuff when I'm trying, if I'm stuck on how to draw a figure, I always want a good reference. And so he's really good for that. So here's the thing. Wait for it. Kapow! Look at that. Look at that. I got this comic and I opened it up, and when I got past that first page in this double splash deal here, I looked at it and I said, I don't care if the rest of this thing is dog crap. This is great. Look at this. We again got the hot rod jumping over train tracks. Really interesting deal. Like all four wheels are off the ground, but that's a little bit exaggerated where those wheels go. But it's really clever and it gives you a sense of motion, depth, and it's really nice with the vanishing point with the train tracks in there. Really good stuff. This panel, pretty great. Pretty great. Uh, what do black and white. I always love good silhouettes. And then mixing in the water there that he's going up the alley. The only thing you're kind of missing maybe is to put the circles in with the headlights. And then you have this thing where part of the story is these are some of the heroes. They somehow find out about the bank robbery and they're chasing the guys. They roll over in this tire yard and they're okay. Now, look at all this motion. This is really good stuff. And this, how often do you see? I probably can't see it. That it's through the. Let me. So you see this where you see the guy's hands holding the steering wheel through the window. Who draws that? The answer is probably not very many people. So yeah, it's really, really great. Really great. And stuff you just don't see. Now, I did have to laugh at something right off the bat when I was looking at the credits. So, Dick Giordano, famous guy, Alex Toth, of course, and Vince Coletta. And for a second, I was like, Vince Coletta. Who's Vince Coletta? That's a inker who inked forever, and I guess maybe a little bit notoriously because by all accounts, he was a really good guy. People liked him a lot, had a good personality. People liked working with him. But there are a lot of people who did not like him, comic books fans who didn't like him because he inked Kirby for a lot of years, and there was a lot of pages that he just wouldn't draw stuff, I guess. And when I got the name recognition in my head, I remember who he was, I had to laugh because Alex Toth is notoriously cranky. So I could just imagine the process. He does, maybe he gets the layouts. He probably did the layouts himself, but he layouts, pencils, gives the pencils to this Coletta guy. Coletta goes to give it to whoever he gives it to next. Toth intercepts him and says, "You screwed up my art. Do it again." I could see him being crabby about that. So I wonder if good old Vince might have give a little bit more detail in this comic because he was working with Alex Toth, who again was notoriously crabby. Also, love leaning over the steering wheel here. Good stuff. So we get just advancing the story, talking to the cop. They explain to the cop what a funny car is, that they're swapping out the bodies. Here's the hippies here. Like they've obviously put this body back on the other car. Hanging out. Really, really nice panel. He's really known for doing his black and whites, his silhouette stuff. That's a really good panel right there. I like that. Just the black and white of him being in the car. Good stuff. And so the kids talk to some other people to try to formulate a plan. They're all in the garage, like, what are we gonna do about these guys? And then I think the idea is one of the kids in this group. It's basically this is a kid gang comic, but one of the guys in this group, his dad's a police commissioner, and he talks to his dad about how to catch these hot rodders. And so they take 4 police cars and they soup them up and make them all hot rods to be able to compete with the the bad guys who have the hot rods. Now this is a neat picture in the garage. Really close up car he's leaning over the hood and one on the lift. Now, if you're not a hot rodder, every hot rodder's dream is to have a 3-stall car garage with 3 cars. One's your daily driver, one's your race car, and one's your project car. So you got all of this here. So I did have to laugh real quick. This is a master cartoonist. I'm not sure if you could see it too great. Master cartoonist. This guy, that's not the best hand in the world. And the thing that makes me giggle about it is this guy's so amazing. I was like, oh, you can't draw hands, until I flip the next page and he does an amazing deal. But it just kind of made me giggle a little bit because hands
kind of suck. I always kind of pay attention to hands because I think I'm decent at them, although through a lot of tears. And so, again, this is also repeating images that I like. So, is it four different cars? Yes, but it's good storytelling because they're all each in a different position. So, it doesn't matter if they're four cars or one car, you get the sense of movement almost in an animation style. And of course, the last guy is jumping over this guy who's about ready to go over to the hill. His front tires are in the air, and this guy's all the way up into the air. The suspension sagged out a little bit with the pumpkin on the back. Oh, these are all rear wheel drive cars. I know that's a pretty amazing concept to a lot of people, but that's what those are. So another fun time capsule deal. I could just go on and on about everything in this comic. One more thing I will talk about. Cars used to have this little triangle in the front of the window in the front of the car called a wing. It was always a thing, like if it was raining or something like that, and you didn't have air conditioner in a lot of cars. You would there's this little flip up. You'd flip up the thing and turn the wing around and let air in without getting wet. So probably going on and on about this too much. So the story progresses. They soup up all these hot rods. They make the bad guys make their the hot rod look like an old truck. They're dressed up like hillbillies. I didn't notice this at first, but this is the silhouette profile of the one hippie's face who was driving clear in the front. So really, that's him right there. Really good stuff. Really good storytelling. This is some of the body angle. He does this a lot, where you see over the shoulder looking ahead behind these guys, which not everybody draws that because it's hard to draw. It's hard to draw that over the shoulder angle and get the perspective right on the far hand. So they're chasing after him. This is the hand that's the really good hand I was talking about. This is of course the car is a stick shift, which there's none of those. And again, here's a really good panel layout. The picture is from underneath the car. So the camera is underneath of the car, and so all this is the wheel and underneath, and then the car's driving. Again, this guy is slanted, and the front wheel's almost coming off the ground. Really good eyes with the hand and the steering wheel. He does that 2 or 3 times in here, and that's another one right there. I really like I really like that angle. That's a fun angle to just look at and draw. Really hard panel to draw. Good motion on the cars here. Yep, the car's almost tipping over going around the corner. This is some of that over the shoulder stuff I was talking about. Even though the figure is smaller towards the end. Oh, right here. Here's another one of those. That's a hard deal to kind of get right. And this is pretty much the end of the story. The only criticism I have out of the whole story that was a little bit a little bit confusing was there's a lot of hands here. So it was a clever thing that he did is he put this guy's gloves, with the circles. So this guy is leaning over and putting the radio in that guy's face so he can talk to the cops about what he's doing. So that's the story, and really good stuff. And that's only 13 pages in, and it's pretty packed. I mean, the story isn't super great, but it's still fun enough to read. Something I've liked from start to finish. Really good stuff. Also, one of the things they keep calling seat belts in here is life belts, and everybody's wearing them, coming from a time where people thought that you were infringing upon their rights if you were made to wear a seat belt. Kind of a funny thing. So that's done, and then hold on, flip over, and then you have this other artist telling a hot rod story. So this is a story from the Daytona 500 where they used to race. Half of it was on the beach, half of it was on asphalt, and apparently coming around the corner back onto the asphalt was a really dangerous turn. This guy was in the lead, rolls his car, he keeps his foot on the gas, and when he gets back over on his wheels, he keeps racing and gets third place. And then the fun thing here is you have Lee Petty, who Richard Petty is probably one of the best race car drivers of all time. Then you have Junior Johnson over here with his car, also another Hall of Famer. And just this racing album, just thrown in this comic. Really good history stuff. Then there's this other deal here that's cartoons, which is in some of the hot rod magazines. Just a funny thing. This bear is changing a tire, and the caption says, "Still think I was wrong for giving him a lift," which is just funny, can't be fun. And then you have another story here. Dick Giorgiano's writing it, and then a different artist, but he's doing Toth's characters. It's good enough. I mean, it's a fun enough story. And then go on and on. Finish that story up. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And then it ends with another racing album story. So this is fun from top to bottom. And also another good thing, an advertisement for Stratomatic, which I'm kind of surprised that hasn't taken off, because basically what Stratomatic is Dungeons and Dragons for baseball. And with everybody doing fantasy, sports, everything, I'm surprised that hasn't kind of come back. But and then send off for your favorite rock records. So really fun top to bottom. I could probably, there's so many more things I could go on and on about in this. I could probably do another half hour on it, but okay, so we're at the end, and what are we taking away? Well, how to draw cars, how to put silhouettes into stuff, and then just the language he's using here. Man, just different angles. Not everybody uses as a good reference. I mean, if you don't know who Toth is and you don't have his comics, you need to. It's all really good stuff. So, I guess until next time, let's all get published.